Attorney Steve Vondran back with you. This module will discuss MERS, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. A lot of talk on the internet about MERS. I got a MERS loan. I've got a pretender lender. I don't know what I have. People will call and say, I don't know what all this means. I just know there's a MERS loan and the note and the deed of trust were separated. What does that mean? Do I get my house for free? Does that mean they can't prove the debt? Those types of questions. The answer, generally speaking, is no. It doesn't mean you have a guarantee case to litigate. It doesn't mean you get a house for free. It just means you have what we call a MERS loan, Mortgage Electronic Registration Systems. That's MERS. They're an entity that was created by the financial institutions, basically, to take your deed of trust and record it with your county recorder. The typical situation, and let's say there's, just pulling a number out, about 60 million loans that have or use MERS, at least according to statistics I've seen. 60 million of these loans, quite a few. Most of the loans from 2002 on were MERS loans. Okay, how do you know? How do you know if you have a MERS loan? Pull out your deed of trust, look on page, it's usually on one of the first two pages, and see if it says MERS somewhere on there, Mortgage Electronic Registration Systems, and you'll usually see language like this. The typical language you'll see, and it could vary a little bit, normally you'll see that MERS is the nominee of the lender and its successor and assigns. Well, who's the lender? Well, it's the party that gave you the loan. It's the bank that you thought was doing the loan and was going to keep the loan. Remember, they probably did it. You made one payment to them and then you were paying somebody else. This is the originator who will call the lender, even though if you listen to some other people discuss on the topic, they didn't really lend their own money in most cases. So we'll call them the lender, but the deed of trust will say MERS is the nominee of the lender and its successor and its assigns, and then usually in the very next sentence it'll say MERS is the beneficiary. And this is what starts causing a lot of confusion. Well, wait a second, are you a nominee of the lender and successor and assigns, a nominee being, kind of like an agent? Are you just an agent of them, or are you the actual beneficiary? So it's kind of some confusing, conflicting language, but in my opinion, they did this so that they could hedge their bets both ways. So at times, they can pretend like they're the beneficiary and transfer in the deed of trust. You might see assignments of deed of trust. Typically, MERS will record the deed of trust in the county recorder. That preserves the lien. The note will then be transferred into a trust, and we'll have another video on securitized loan trust and how the system's set up. So this is what they mean when people say the note and the deed of trust are split. There's a note's coming over here to the securitized loan trust so they can sell it on Wall Street. Okay, so this is all your investors over here on Wall Street. Note's coming over here. The deed of trust is getting recorded and MERS holds it. At some point in your case, you may see them record an assignment of deed of trust, and that's the thing we always see is an assignment of deed of trust by MERS. And people say, "Wow, does that mean I have a big lawsuit because I have a MERS assignment of deed of trust?" No, it's something we take a look at, and we look at it and see what's on there. But typically, they'll assign it back to the entity that's going to try to foreclose on you. So that's normally what you're going to see. Like I said, the issues that come up when I see a MERS loan, I know that if somebody's going into bankruptcy and there's going to be a motion to lift the stay, or possibly if there's a chance to set up a case for litigation like an adversary proceeding in a bankruptcy court, you can start looking at these things and send out letters. What we'll do is send out letters trying to find out who is the trust, who owns my loan. Those types of things. We might look up on the deed of trust. You'll have what's called in a MERS loan. You will have a MERS MIN number, and that's MIN. You can look that up. You can type that right into Google. MERS min, that's all you need to type, MERS min, and on your deed of trust, take the number you have, punch it into Google, see who it says owns your loan. You might be surprised. It may not be the entity that is trying to foreclose on you. This is how you identify potential issues that, for me, make more sense in a bankruptcy court. Because remember, I said in other videotapes, there's a whole concept of produce the note, who's got the note, where'd it go. It's not really going to help you a whole lot. But this is, generally speaking, the MERS system, how it's set up. The originator originates a loan, sells a note off, gets put into a trust, the investors invest in it. MERS holds a deed of trust in a beneficiary capacity, as a nominee, and so this gets a little convoluted sometimes. But at some point you'll see an assignment of deed of trust, and what that really is trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again so that the deed of trust and the note are back together, making the party the real party. And that's fine and dandy, and I would tip my cap to that if they actually had the notes, and that's really the big question. But this is a general look at MERS and how we look at MERS. And like I said, sometimes it can raise issues, real party in a bankruptcy court. And but that's pretty much how we look at it. We'll talk about the Gomes case in another one of our videos. If you subscribe to that package, you'll get to see the big case that came out was Gomes. Talked about the authority of MERS to do some of this stuff. And that was a big case that's really helped out the bankers and lenders. So we'll talk about that. We'll break that down for you. They do have authority to do a good deal of the things that they're doing. So, but anyway, that's just a general look at MERS. When you hear people say, I got a MERS loan, it's kind of what we're talking about here. Thank you for your time.